See your cars as transportation, not as status symbols. Save up and pay cash for them. So let's talk about that. Look at your cars as a vehicle to get you to work until you're out of consumer debt. So you don't have student loans, you don't have credit cards, you can still have a mortgage, but you don't have any medical collections or anything else. Then get a car that you can afford to pay cash for, but you always want to use a loan when getting that car. And follow the advice inside of Fortress University, which is always get a loan and then make massive payments towards that loan to pay it off early. Now, if you have great credit and you can get a loan like I have on my vehicles at 2%, I'm not making extra payments, guys. I'm not making extra payments. I am paying less interest, even though it's only 2%, by applying the Fortress banking system. And that is by putting my money into a line of credit, paying down the principal on the loan, and then my merchant account deposits into the line of credit and pays off the line of credit every day, which means I only pay interest for about 2 days a month on those loans, similar to how a credit card works. And I don't have time to get into that all right now, but maybe we'll talk about it later. So I think you should use those cars as transportation, not as a status symbol. So let's talk about that. And that might sound hypocritical from a guy that drives a $100,000 truck, just ordered another $100,000 truck, drives an $80,000 Jeep that I had custom built, and I have a Ferrari. So let me break that down because I do not want to sound like a hypocrite. I do not drive the Ferrari or the truck as a status symbol because I'm trying to impress someone. I drive those vehicles because I like those vehicles. They're safe, they're reliable, and I feel good in them. And they make me feel good when I'm driving them. Until you've driven and owned an exotic car, I can't explain the feeling. It's still a car, but it's different than driving a beater. It would be like a virgin explaining sex to someone, but they'd never had sex before. I bet you didn't think you'd ever hear me talk about that. Sex in a financial class. But that's really what it's like. And I remember my friend Pam Jordan, who's a bookkeeper, a pastor's wife of a very large church outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And she was always like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand why you guys have these cars. Because, we get together every 90 days and most of us are car guys and we have Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Astons and Rolls Royces. And we stay at this hotel and a lot of the guys that live in Florida will bring their cars. She's like, I just don't get it. I'm like, well, I wouldn't expect you to get it. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you ever driven one? No. I said, well, you won't get it. So then another few months went by, I went back down. And so she kept saying, I'm like, let's go drive a Bentley. And so I put her behind the steering wheel of the Bentley, the new Bentley SUV. Blew her mind. And then we went and drove an Aston Martin. And then we went and drove a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. And then she's like, I get it. I completely get it now. I understand why you want to drive these cars. So let's break down this. See your cars as transportation, not a status symbol. I see a lot of people that should not be driving these vehicles because they can't afford them. So they lease them. They make very small payments or sometimes very large payments, but they have no equity. They have credit card debt. They have student loan debt. They have payday loans. And they're just driving the cars to impress other people. And that is not why you want to get one of these cars. You shouldn't get it to impress someone else. You get it because you wanted it for you, not necessarily just so you can impress your neighbors who you don't really like. So I'm okay with driving fancy vehicles if you can afford to pay cash for it. Now, I didn't pay cash for my cars. No, because I got a 2% loan and I took the money that I could have paid cash for and I invested that in an apartment complex. So that is my belief on that, that you invest the money into an asset that pays you back, and then you use the money that you get in interest, which I get interest every 90 days. I get 3 deposits of the 3 apartments that I have ownership with. We have 5 total, but I have 3 that I actually get deposits on because I have cash in them. And I use that money for my other things. So it's better to buy a rental and have the rental pay for the car than it is to buy the car and not have the rental.